So our next team is Warbler, and they're solving a problem that's at least near and dear to my heart. As an engineer, I don't know about YouTube, but I really find database migrations pretty painful,
Hmm.
especially all these random edge cases you bump into. They have a pretty cool solution up there, so they'll take it away.
Awesome.
Hi. So you guys don't know it, but it's like out there in Facebook land, but it's like 90 degrees in here, and I wore the suit, which was probably a terrible idea. In fact, I guarantee it was a terrible idea because it's hot. So we're Team Warbler, and I'm James. This is Robin. This is Josh and John on the end. And we built an application, as you can guess, called Warbler. We'd like to tell you a little bit about it. So Warbler helps business and technical teams better manage product databases together. This is Sue, and this is Tom. They work at a smartwatch startup named Ticker. Sue's a software developer. She loves code. Tom over there, he's her boss. He knows nothing about code. He's basically a muggle. And as you can imagine, this makes it pretty difficult for them to talk about project databases, which is exactly what they need to do today. Fortunately, our application can help. Warbler offers a graphical user interface that makes it a lot easier for business and technical teams to modify live databases on the fly. Warbler is dynamic, performant, and we think cool. And we think cool, and I just ran out of things to say right there. That's a pause that should never happen. So let me tell you a little bit about our application. When we designed Warbler, we knew that we needed to allow it to talk to each user's local file system and databases using a set of custom shell scripts. So rather than build a web application, which is what we tend to focus on here at Full Stack Academy, we decided to use a technology called Electron to turn Warbler into a desktop application, which would make it easy for us to run these custom shell scripts. Using Electron also allowed us to use, or building a desktop application also allowed us to use standard web technologies on each user's local hard drive. Our custom bash scripts currently use PG, which is a Node.js module, to talk to Postgres databases. This is going to get a little techie, but Warbler's views are written with something called React, which we've hooked up to Redux in order to better manage our application state as users interact with the software. Couple last things to say. Let's imagine that Sue and Tom have already launched the app. The first thing they're going to do is select a project to work on. This is going to tell Warbler where to save their model and migration data. And Robin's going to continue on now in a smooth fashion to tell you about what happens next.
Thanks, James. So Tom and Sue have selected a project they want to work on. Now they need to select a corresponding database. So they choose a database, and PG queries that database and saves the information on our Redux store. Warbler then utilizes React to dynamically render the model information. On the left are the models or the tables. On the right are the attributes or properties along with the property type. We're using Material UI to make the interface look modern and clean. So this is the alternative, right? The command line is an effective tool for making changes or edits to your database, but it's not ideal for the project that Tom and Sue are facing today. So they decide they want to go ahead and create a model to track some social data, and they want to add some properties to it. So they go ahead and create the social model. They hit the plus button, and a series of changes happen behind the scenes that John's going to walk you through.
Okay, thanks. So none of the changes that you're seeing on the screen are being saved to the database yet. What we're doing is using a library called Immutable to make a copy of your database each time you make a change. And because maybe you want to experiment and see some different changes you could make. So you don't have to worry about that because with Immutable, we can copy it really fast, actually faster than normal JavaScript objects. And what we're going to do is compare at the end of all of your changes, we're going to compare your database with the copy we've made that has all the changes on it. And we're going to make a difference map there. We're going to find the differences between these two and use that to generate the migration files, which will actually run the migrations and save the changes to your database. And Josh is going to tell you some about that.
Thank you, John. Now, at this point, Sue's going to hit the migrate button. And what's going to happen is that those changes that she made to our database in the GUI, those are going to get processed and written to our project directory as migration files. Next, Warbler is going to use something called SQLize command line interface tools in order to actually run those migration files to actually affect those changes on the SQL database itself. Additionally, we use something called SQLize Auto to generate a set of model definition files, and those files are written in JavaScript and they represent tables that exist on the SQL database. And at this point, Sue and her team have all the files that they need for their JavaScript application to communicate with their SQL database. Finally, I'd like to thank all of you out there for tuning in and taking the time and attention. Thank you very much.
All right, votes down below for Warbler. I'm very impressed they even identified that as a problem, and then had a solution of using immutable JS to capture a sequence of database migrations, and then like kind of compress it to its minimal form, right? Because I think that I think if they had ended it and said, yeah, then you're making these changes, they reflect on the database, I'd be like, yeah, very cool. But the fact that they're using immutable JS to capture those changes and then compress that through the difference map, I'd be curious to see the intermediary data structures, because that's really cool.
It's pretty awesome, and it allows it so that like if they add a column and then delete a column and add it back, it's not like 3 operations that necessarily. Like the immutable diff,
kind of like what a compiler will do to unnecessary changes. I mean, I think in general for developers who are starting out working with SQL databases or really any kind of database over time, like managing schema is ridiculous when you keep adding and removing developers. And so in general, I mean, I think, this kind of database migration tools are a godsend.
The state of database migration is still much fun. I mean, in terms of like having tools like Git for managing code, for managing database migrations, both in the ones that are permanent and the ones that are in flight, I think are both both need a lot of information. I'm surprised they found that. It's an interesting approach to a problem that I would not have thought they would have conceptualized.
Yeah. I can nerd about this forever.